Hello. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Sunday. It is currently about 1:30 p.m. in New York. And I'm about to just put away the groceries I just bought and maybe wash some veggies and cook something really simple because I'm really exhausted. Hello, Claire from Monday. You're from the future. Hello, lover. Yes, I'm just having fun with the titles because who cares anymore, right? Also, I just keep getting these weird comments, and I know they're probably either trolling or really, really going through something themselves. But I think people like see me on this channel and they think that I'm sick. And like, I'm not saying I'm not sick. Obviously, I'm sick in a lot of respects, but I don't think I'm sick in the way that they think I'm sick. And I think the critique they have for me is not very applicable to me because I actually really enjoy the way my brain processes certain things. And I think the way that I process these things for myself that I enjoy is somehow triggering for them. So, Sunday rant. It's not really going to be a rant. I think I'm finally, after a year and a half of genocide, coming to terms with the world that we live in. You have witnessed this journey through denial and internal conflict and strife. I think there's a cycle to learning unsavory realities, and the road to acceptance is perpetual, but eventually you will get a grasp for the terrain if you are privileged enough to live. And that's where I'm at. I'm privileged enough to live to this moment of seeing and learning and mourning and understanding. And so this is a Sunday rant for lovers and neurodivergence, because I suspect I am one, and the exhausted, because I'm really freaking exhausted. I went to see some friends this week. I went to a chocolate event for work yesterday, and even though I didn't really move all that much, I took 1 hour walk on Friday, and on the subway back, my eyes started hurting and I couldn't keep them open, and my body was, I just felt all this energy from my body kind of drain out like a battery, and I was like, okay, I guess walking for an hour is still not really within my capacity. And then the day right after, yesterday, I went to the chocolate event, and it was a very small event and I helped out a little bit, but my energy was just not there, and so I think you can see my face is getting really lax. I don't even know if it's bloated anymore at this point. It's just everything is soggy and fatigued. And my eyes have been itching, and I thought for a while, oh, maybe Memo has been getting more dander on him, which is true because I haven't been really able to clean the house as much. And maybe I'm becoming more allergic to all the stuff he's trapping in his fur. But I also just realized that happy spring, we've hit spring, so there's also pollen in the air now, so it's histamine season, really, which also explains why my body's not doing so well. I think seasonal allergies kicking in might make my autoimmune issues a little bit more flared, because my autoimmune system is just overreactive to the allergies, and that triggers certain long COVID stuff too, because long COVID is technically also an overreactivity from the immune system against the virus that is still really very much trapped within your body. So it's just everything is kind of flaring at the same time, and obviously our country is very visibly descending into fascism. So it's been in the works ever since we funded Israel, which has been decades of funding Israel, but in the last year and a half, we have seen this country fund Israel with increasing fervor, and now we are defunding everything here, Medicaid, food stamps, libraries, education. So, you know, schools are acquiescing to these fascist demands, and we are seeing systems being perpetuated by submission to nonsense violations of respect. So there's a lot to process, and it is okay to feel really fucking weak. So truly surviving now is like very exhausting because I don't know if I have the numbers right, but scientifically most of our brain processes are unconscious. 80 to 90%, maybe more, are unconscious. So even if we're not consciously devoting attention to how the world is really tragic right now, I think it's still soaking through. So just understanding that your body is trying to process all sorts of toxins, literal and figurative, and the figurative toxins might even sink more damage than the literal toxins into your existence. So everything is manifesting outwardly, and we're kind of doing a lot of collective therapy, you know, like I think continued warfare in all sorts of ways is just like unresolved issues within each of us. And I think we keep repressing this shit, and we keep repressing this shit, and we do it for generations, and we do it as a sign of progress because we keep denying this shit. And eventually, you know, like zombies will rise from beyond the grave and start biting everyone and turn them into zombies too. So right now, the rise of fascism is just like the seeds we have planted have borne fruit, and they are sick fruit. And if you eat the fruit, you will also become sick. And this is sort of like a zombie apocalypse that we're seeing, really. So think about all the sci-fi that you've read and seen, and apply it. Think about what you want your next steps to be. I think media is actually a great blueprint for us to follow because we reify so much of our lives and our world. We make things that are imaginary real, and so I think a lot of the stuff we're seeing is kind of like sci-fi plot lines from decades ago manifesting into reality. And so if we truly are just following our own reified scripts of all sorts, then take into consideration all the scripts that have been written and choose your own adventure. You're living in your choose your own adventure world. Everything is becoming gamified. So it's a book, it's a game, it's a movie. You're playing your role, you're playing your character, you're playing out a plot that you really have no full control over. It's all been orchestrated already, and it's just up for you to choose from the options that are available. And yeah, there are options that are outside of the book and outside of the realm of the video game and outside the realm of the movie, but it's much less exciting. And it has always been here, so that's there for you too. And that's it. So let me show you what I bought today. I spent less than 20 bucks all told today for some groceries. I got a 2-pound net of onions for $1. They were on sale. It's gonna go in here. And then I got some $1 bag of blood oranges, I think. These look like blood oranges, but they might not be very good. So I'm actually excited to eat one now. I almost didn't buy this bag. I picked it up, I put it down, I walked away, and then I turned around half a block later and I was like, I'm gonna buy that. There was something inside me that was just like, buy the blood oranges on discount. And I was like, yes, master. I didn't buy these oranges because apparently citrus fruits are really high in histamine, but I'm also thinking, like, if I deny myself these fruits for the sake of relieving my symptoms that might or might not be caused by high histamines in my diet, I'm just gonna be even more miserable. So it's like a cost and benefit sort of balancing act of choosing what you want on any given day. Just know that there is a price attached to every choice you make. Oh yeah, they feel quite sad. It's okay. We knew what we bought when we bought that bag for $1, when one egg can cost up to $1 now. Anyway, continuing on, I got 5 parsnips for almost $6 at the farmer's market. They were $4 a pound. I just bought 1 parsnip per day of the week, not counting the weekends. They're very sweet, probably not good for pre-diabetes, but also better than eating chocolate and candy bars. So I'm gonna cook these with carrots. I'm thinking I'm just gonna make like little soups. Yes, they are more expensive than grocery stores. I think grocery stores are about half the unit price, so $2 a pound. These were $4 a pound, so I could have gotten these for probably less than $3, but I got them at the farmer's market, and I figured as long as we can support some more local farmers, we might as well. I got this deal, 2 tubs of Siggy's whole milk vanilla yogurt for $2. I know it's backwards, my image is mirrored, which is great. I was hoping to get no sugar added, but they only had these on sale, so I just grabbed them, whatever. Sell by date is today, and I have been yearning yogurt, so it has been granted to me. On Friday, I was in the area of Trader Joe's and I got this honey Greek yogurt, whole milk, which I really enjoy. This was $5.50. And I got some sliced Dutch goat cheese, apparently DOP, so it's from Holland, I guess. And I got some blue cheese. This is my favorite, blue cheese. But every time I go to Trader Joe's, I like lose a little more appetite for returning and continuing to buy from them. This week, the discovery was that they now carry Israeli feta. I have never before seen Israeli feta. I don't know if it's new, but I don't go to Trader Joe's that often anymore. But I saw that they have Israeli feta, and I was like, okay, well, that's certainly a choice. You could just carry feta, which you have carried for a long time, but you have to carry Israeli feta now. Okay. Noted. Not that the Dutch, where the goat cheese is from, has done much better historically, but at least they're not actively carrying out a genocide right now. But I guess who am I to talk living in the country that is actually funding the genocide? Because, you know, Israel's killing the people, but we're funding them. So if we didn't fund them, they wouldn't be able to kill the people. Finally, I got 2 bunches of greens. These were 2 for $6. and I got some Utroy, and I got some Ruby Streak. These are mustard greens. So I'm just gonna give them a rinse, and I might cook this in a dumpling soup throughout the week, and I might cook this into this jar of pasta sauce that I bought a long time ago. Well, not a long time ago, a couple of months ago. It's like so flavorless, and I'm not supposed to be eating tomatoes anymore, but I keep getting this like hunger for tomato sauce, so let's cook this with our greens and maybe add some TVP in there, and I might add some powdered tomato just to like strengthen up the very lacking tomato flavor in here. So we'll spice this up, we'll cook something. But first I'm gonna wash my veggies. I gotta talk to you guys about something that I like came across on Wikipedia. I was like going down a Wikipedia hole the other day, and how this all started was like I have this kind of sick, not really that sick, but kind of sick habit of reading the troll comments on pro-Palestine posts on Instagram. You know, there's always the pro-Israeli or Zionist comments, and I usually like click through on their profile just to see who they are, and then I block them. And this person had posted about like this, I don't know if he was Palestinian, maybe he was, but basically like an Arab man who was not on the right side of history, and like apparently collaborated with the Nazis. But then I clicked on his page, and I like found a Israeli organization. This was in the 1950s. Let me see if I can go back on my Instagram archive and pull this up, because like it just like blew, like I was reading this page and I was like, what is going on with all the plot twists here? There was this like Israeli organization who was trying to fight the British powers. And so they collaborated with the Nazis too. An Israeli organization collaborating with the Nazis to fight the British. And for a period of time in their organization, they were like pro-Arab liberation. And they believed that like Arab liberation was key to also like peace in the Middle East and Israeli liberation. And like, hello, that's what we want, right? But apparently they did not get enough votes when election time came around. Like, they did not have the Israeli support. And so they then pivoted in a few years and started helping out with genociding Palestinians. So you know, okay, found it. I don't know how to pronounce it because I don't know how to speak Hebrew, but it's spelled Lehi. If you look up Lehi organization or political organization or Israel, I'm sure it'll come up on Google. But it was known pejoratively as the Stern Gang because it was founded by Avraham Yair Stern in Mandatory Palestine its avowed aim was to evict the British authorities from Palestine by use of violence, allowing unrestricted immigration of Jews and the formation of a Jewish state. It was initially called the National Military Organization in Israel, upon being founded in August 1940, so that was before 1948, but was renamed Lehi 1 month later. The group referred to its members as terrorists and admitted to having carried out acts of terrorism. Lehi split from the Irgun, I also don't know how to say any of these, so correct me, militant group in 1940 in order to continue fighting the British during World War II. It initially sought an alliance with fascist Italy and Nazi Germany. I like how Wikipedia terms these fascist Italy and Nazi Germany. So are we gonna be fascist America or Nazi America? This period, because we are, right? Or are we gonna invent a new term? Everybody invent a new term for the America that we're living in now. Believing that Nazi Germany was a lesser enemy of the Jews than Britain. Let me read that again. This Israeli group, officially the Fighters for the Freedom of Israel, believed that Nazi Germany was a lesser enemy of the Jews than Britain. Lehi twice attempted to form an alliance with the Nazis, proposing a Jewish state based on, quote, nationalist and totalitarian principles, and linked to the German Reich by an alliance, end quote. After Stern's death in 1942, the new leadership of Lehi began to move towards support for Joseph Stalin's Soviet Union and the ideology of National Bolshevism, which was considered an amalgam of both right and left. Working together. Regarding themselves as, quote, revolutionary socialists, end quote, the new Lehi developed a highly original ideology combining a almost mystical belief in Greater Israel with support for the Arab liberation struggle. This sophisticated ideology, I love this phrasing, this sophisticated ideology failed to gain public support, and Lehi fared poorly in the first Israeli elections. In 1948, Lehi and the Irgun were jointly responsible for the massacre in Deir Yassin of at least 107 Palestinian Arab villagers, including women and children. Lehi assassinated Lord Moyen, British minister resident in the Middle East, and made many other attacks on the British in Palestine. In May 1948, a month after this massacre, the government of Israel, having inducted its activist members into the IDF, formally disbanded Lehi, though some of its members carried out one more terrorist act, the assassination of Folk Benadot, some months later, an act condemned by Benadot's replacement as mediator, Ralph Bunche. These are very fun names. After the assassination, the new Israeli government, are you confused? Because I was fucking confused. After the assassination, the new Israeli government declared Lehi a terrorist organization. Okay, so let me get this straight, right? This is the pattern that we're seeing. They use you, then they discard you. You support them in their efforts, and then once they're in power, they're like, you're the fucking enemy, go get punished. After the assassination, the new Israeli government declared Lehi a terrorist organization, arresting some 200 members and convicting some of the leaders. Just before the first Israeli elections in January 1949, a general amnesty to Lehi members were granted by the government. So then they take it back. They say, they scare the shit out of you, threaten to arrest you and maybe kill you, and then they're like, all right, we're gonna be the bigger guy, you're forgiven. This play. In 1980, so fast forward 30 years, Israel instituted a military decoration, quote, an award for activity in the struggle for the establishment of Israel, the Lehi ribbon. So 30 years later, after they've used them, and then punished them, and then somehow forgiven them, they then honor them. Former Lehi leader Yitzhak Shamir became Prime Minister of Israel in 1983. This is too exhausting. So politics is a game of chess, but real people die. So I'm not political, because I don't have faith in human beings. Like, we're dumb. We're dumb as shit, guys. It's exhausting. It's exhausting. Okay, so hopefully that was as entertaining and shocking and mind-boggling and WTF as it was for you, as it was for me. Because I really, like, that night when I was reading that, I was like, my brain was like at the edge of processing. But there it is. It checks out. You've seen this pattern over and over again. Ideals in the right place, practically not executable, so they pivot and get co-opted or consumed or integrated into another organization that is just full charge insane for power and profit, and then it becomes perverted. I mean, you can look at the history of the US like this too, right? We have the Constitution, pursuit of happiness, yada yada yada, every man is whatever, blah blah blah. And now you have America in 2025 committing genocide again. Let us just emphasize that we are committing genocide again. So yeah. And let's not glorify China. I understand we all have this like grass is greener on the other side perspective of like, wow, this fucking sucks, let's run over there, and oh my gosh, how do we get there? They have it so much they don't have it that much better. Yes, they currently have it better because we are currently going through the shits right now. But like there's a reason why my parents left China. Y'all, okay? Progress is not progress for everyone. For example, my dad's family was a little bit more bourgeois than my mom's parents. So my dad's family suffered a lot more during the Communist Revolution and the Cultural Revolution than my mom's family did, because the perspectives that they were coming from were totally different. My dad's family had basically more to lose than my mom's parents did. And so these perspectives are all reality. And it's impossible for us to make the call of what the right thing to do is, because not everyone has the concept of right and wrong on the same level. Again, that's why politics is a game. It's not meant to really serve people. It's just driving the machine of conflict forward. I don't believe that communism will solve everything, because clearly we've attempted communism before. And I don't believe democracy can solve everything, because clearly we've tried to attempt democracy. And what do you get when you have a democratic structure in which the democratic public doesn't actually participate actively in every part of the running of this machine? You get fascism. I'm not blaming people for fascism, but I'm also saying we can't just blame Trump and his cronies for fascism. Like, there has to be fertile soil for fascism to grow out of, and we are that soil. The people and the populace is the soil that these systems grow out of. At one point, someone voted Trump into office, and again, it's not as simple as the people voting for who. It's who is being allowed to be a candidate in the system, who is being allowed to vote, who is being allowed to get the votes. Because we have so many different hoops to jump through to even get on the ballot. Bernie wasn't on the ballot this year, and he was on the ballot for primaries until he wasn't when he ran before. And also, I think we need to stop glorifying politicians like Bernie. Because Bernie and AOC have also condoned genocide over and over again in the last year and a half, right? They might be better than, you know, the people who are actively doing Nazi salutes and whatever, but they still condone genocide. This is what you need to do in order to survive in the American government. You need to participate in genocide. Which is a really tough bottom line to swallow when you don't have basic respect for human life. What do you have respect for? What is your qualification for leading people when you literally don't care if people die? I can't see past that. I know there's more practical ways to go about, managing the destruction, but the system is still founded and rooted in destruction of lives, because it's mandatory for you to be productive at this scale, to make human sacrifices. So the genocide is really just like our contemporary human sacrifice. Like, we have gone back to primal, or maybe we've never left these primal practices. That's currently how I'm looking at it. I don't know. Feel free to share your thoughts. You don't have to agree with me. I'm not right, and I'm not wrong. Okay, yes, we can attempt an alpaca farm, and yes, they have been attempted. Like, there are alpaca farms in existence, but they're certainly not helping the general human population. And like, do we know if the alpacas are happy? They look happy, but do we know if they are? Because like, when you go to work, most of the time people fake being happy. So maybe alpacas are also kind of like fake being happy because, they're trapped. What are they gonna do? They ain't got no other choice. Just like you ain't got no other choice than to go to work. Maybe a job that you hate, maybe with people that you hate, maybe with values directly against your own. No, I think alpaca farms help certain pockets of the human population, but we still have genocide and like sick politicians. Like, if you're saying that we can just grow an alpaca farm and that'll help wipe out evil politicians organically, I'm in. But we're still kind of sacrificing the well-being of alpacas running free and doing their own thing. But again, running free and doing their own thing might not be what actually benefits them. We just don't know. Like, I don't know what natural predators are out there, although they live very, very high in mountains, and so they don't actually have a lot of predators going after them. But, we keep destroying natural habitats of all animals, so they don't even have homes to go back to. Like, there's just layers of really broken shit that we keep fucking up even further, and at a certain point, I'm just like, maybe we just stop doing things. I don't know. Stop trying to fix things, because you're making it worse. My alma mater, Swarthmore College, just sent me another letter. This is like a second letter within 6 weeks, I think, asking me to donate. I already sent them the last letter back saying, take me off your mailing list. I sent it back this time saying free Palestine. They're gonna blacklist me. I don't know, I'm joking about it now, but who knows? At the pace that like ICE is detaining people, who knows? Who knows who's gonna be knocking on whose doors? So don't answer your door and hide, I guess, because this is what fascism is. But yeah, they're just like pimping out current students and things like, your gift gives students like me the chance to discover our capabilities. Your capabilities of surviving fascism? Swarthmore is on a list of 60 colleges that have been served letters by the now disabled Department of Education to acquiesce to title whatever in order to keep their federal funding. And the demands are that they protect Jewish students and fight anti-Semitism, and under their definition of anti-Semitism, it's anything pro-Palestine basically is anti-Semitic. So schools like Columbia is starting to like basically deconstruct their departments of studies that really dive into what countries America has hurt. So education is being disabled right now. Colombia has always been on the wrong side of history anyway. There's been newspaper clippings of them leashing cops out onto people who were protesting the Nazis and people protesting the Vietnam War, and they've unleashed cops on people protesting the genocide in Palestine. So Colombia has always been just a shit institution. I just posted on my Instagram today, I'm just like, you know the historical precedent of these institutions. If you keep expecting them to be on the right side of history when they have shown time and time again that they're not going to be, that's like staying in an abusive relationship, hoping that your abuser will have a change of heart and a change of mind. It's not likely to happen. You gotta leave that relationship if you can. And I wrote, you know, I know some people can't leave abusive situations because they don't have anywhere else to go and they don't have a choice, and that's just their life luck. It's just like shit out of luck. But if you do have a choice and you keep going back to this relationship that you know has not historically worked out, what are you doing? And that's the same feeling I'm getting now of like voting for politicians. I went to the farmer's market today and there were people like getting signatures to put people on the ballot, and people are very excited for this candidate Zoran for mayor in New York City, and like, so what though? You vote one nice person into the system, they're gonna get ground up anyway. The system is not caving to one voice. And Cuomo's back in the race. He has over $1 million in donation from God knows who. But he's just there probably because he's a seasoned politician, even though he's been disgraced. He is, because of his being disgraced, much more easier to control and play puppet with now. So all the people funding his election funds are probably hoping to exercise whatever changes they want to make to the city through Cuomo. Like, that's seemingly just how it works. And so I think the more we reject that premise, the more pain we bring ourselves, because we're just kind of pushing this car against the wall, and the wall isn't giving. So yummy. I'm not saying any of this to freak anyone out, because I think if you've been thinking about it, what I'm saying is either already on your radar and you're in agreement with me, or it's kind of synthesizing everything that you've been witnessing and observing and trying to like make sense of. For me, this feels like the right interpretation, but again, if you don't agree, definitely push back, because I would love to think about it from different angles too. Not that thinking about it will stop the genocide, but I think it'll clear up our brains a little bit to kind of withdraw ourselves from the panic that's going on from witnessing all of this like sudden crashing and burning of the US. Which, by the way, may I remind you, a lot of people were wishing for. Well, now you're witnessing it, right? There is no downfall of the empire that would be comfortable. When an empire crashes and burns, this is what it looks like. People are gonna die and suffer. And I'm not saying that that's a good thing. Any one of us could be on the chopping block. But if you need to see it go down, it's gonna take a lot of people with it when it goes down. The ship is sinking, so some of us will make it out alive, and some of us won't. I'm not saying you have to agree with me on any of this or even listen to me on any of this, but I've been thinking about this whole situation as sort of like receiving a cancer diagnosis. You get to choose how you want to proceed knowing what you know. But this is like bad. I don't know how else to put it. You're not healthy. This country is not healthy. And I liken it to cancer because it's an enemy that is already within you. It is multiplying inside you right now, the cancer. What I've learned in the past 2 years is that it's not wise to give power to other people to let them tell you what you're doing right or wrong, because once they withdraw that appraisal, you're left on your own to deal with your own shit anyway, right? So when I get those comments that are like, June, you need help, you need professional therapy, like you're stuck in this grief mindset for way too long, I'm just like, what the fuck are you talking about? It's not just one grief, it's accumulated grief. As we move through life, there will be continuously more things to grieve about. We're constantly digesting so much grief. How are we ever supposed to be healthy? Healthy is a myth. Let it go. Not everyone can be healthy all the time. Literally, no one can be healthy all the time. Unfortunately, some people will be sicker more of the time than others, but that's their normal. That's just what they were given to start with. And so I actually had a call with the grief counselor who was assigned to me when grandma passed away. I'm very thankful for her. I think she's from Hong Kong, so she also has a Chinese background, so she's much more understanding of certain cultural dynamics. And I was telling her about this comment that I got from someone who identified themselves as a psychiatric nurse, and apparently she's been observing me and she's seen no positive change and blah blah blah. And it's just the grief counselor was like, maybe, but I think you're doing great. Like, you're processing and thinking about all these things so deeply, and you're able to take an interest in looking into how your inner workings manifest. And it's just like, you're so much more self-aware that I'm not worried for you. I'm paraphrasing. She was like, I work with a lot of people who are just stuck in their mindset, and it's really, really difficult for them to kind of pull themselves out of it. But she was like, I think you're so much ahead of my other patients because you're aware of how your brain works and how grief works, and you've come to expect it. And even though it may not feel great all the time, like, you know what to expect. And I'm proud of myself for being in a situation where I can be my own best friend in a lot of ways now. It's been a journey, and I still struggle with it sometimes, but it's absolutely crucial for you to be your own advocate internally first, because there's so much conditioning of listening to outside authority figures. The moment that person who left that comment judging me for my mental state, the moment she slapped down her I'm a psychiatric nurse card, I was like, yo, fuck you. Everyone who slaps their authority identification down in order to bolster their own judgment and opinion of you is trash. You need to discard it right away. because they're not doing it compassionately. They're not doing it to help you. They are judging you. They're using their identity and their societally granted licenses to tell you how you should be. But only you can do you. Only you can understand you. There is so much to understand about yourself because you're not just you. You're not just one self. You're a collection of everyone in your lineage, of everyone in your cultural environment, in your physical environment, in your political environment. You're constantly impacted and influenced by the air quality, by your food quality, by the stress you experience at work, by your family dynamics, by how many other people are relying on you to support them in various ways. We are not all on the same playing field. We don't have the same resources. How can anyone else judge you for what you're doing? And let's be honest, we've already internalized so much judgment at our age, whatever age you may be at, and we've collected those judgments and we've integrated into ourselves as truths. And that's why we're all so guilty and stressed all the fucking time, and it's making us sicker. It's not helping us. Even though we are being sold all these methodologies of self-improvement and self-help, are you actually helping yourself in a compassionate way? Which requires you to first develop understanding before you take any corrective action. Because in order to correct anything that's wrong, you have to first understand what is actually wrong. It's not just what other people tell you is wrong, because what other people are labeling as wrong is often a labeling of what's making you unproductive in society. What's making you stick out, what's making you not uniform and hard to control. But that does not always equate to inner health and inner peace and inner acceptance. That sometimes directly conflicts with inner acceptance and peace and health. So there's a lot to shed first before you can actually start applying the balm. It's kind of like sustaining an injury and there's like shit all over your opened flesh. There's bacteria, there's like debris, there's like shards, and you have to spend some time cleaning it before you start covering it up with ointment and bandages and other things. Because if you just start covering that shit up without cleaning it first, you're gonna give yourself fucking, I don't know, bad things. Gangrene, whatever can happen with an unclean infection. And I think a lot of us are trying to like fix things fast, fix ourselves fast, present our best selves to the world, and there's no time to actually like deconstruct and sit and like grieve. You have to grieve for all of these things that have been hurting you, that you've internalized responsibility for owning. So, if they're not handling you with compassion, leave them behind for now and find people who can meet you with compassion. And I'm not saying everybody should. Again, not everybody has the same resources. Not everyone is able to meet you where you are. And sometimes it just comes down to you having to shoulder on that responsibility of meeting yourself with compassion first if you can't find other people to meet you there right now. And it's not your fault if you can't find anyone. It's not because you're a broken human being. It's because our society is so fragmented right now. And it's so alienating right now. And it's made human connection so much more laborious. Which is why we can't organize as efficiently and quickly as we need to meet genocide. So if we confront that fact that we're failing at fighting fascism, not because we're weak, but because we have been bred in this unhealthy, very extracted soil with very little nutrients, of course we're gonna be frail and weak. Because we were not given the materials and the ingredient and the care that we needed in order to resource our growth. And so yes, we are weak. Is it our fault? Partially. but also we were not given the right foundation to be strong. And so we need to train doubly hard to get to that level of strength that would be effective in pushing back against fascism. If that's not where we are at now, my hope is that we stop running away from the pain of facing the fact that we're weak against fascism, and we just accept that first. Because right now I think we're trying so hard to repress that feeling of helplessness and hopelessness that it's making us feed ourselves faster into the direction of fascism. We're ignoring all the politics, which is fine. I am doing that too. But we're diving harder into consumerism and distracting ourselves through work or vacation or running away to another country, which is also fine. I'm not judging anyone for doing any of that, but I'm just saying it's not going to make things any better. But right now, better or worse, I guess we're at a moment of just pure survival. If not physically, then mentally, I think we are at that moment of just gotta survive, and that fight or flight is coming up. Because people are just being arrested and detained illegally, and if that doesn't make you see the fallacy of what law and order is, I don't know what will. This is the government doing this shit. But the government is for profit. So have we recognized that fact yet? That the government is cops and HR, and cops and HR and the government are not here to serve you. They're here to generate their continued existence, which requires serving you to a certain degree because they need a populace to control in order to survive as a body, as a machine. So they need you because they feed off of you. It's like a very abusive relationship. It's like a relationship with a narcissist, right? They need you. Oh, this orange is not too bad. It feels kind of juicy. They suck your energy. They suck your labor. They suck your energy. They suck your hope and your ideas and dreams. Okay. Not bad. Please think of your toxic friends before you get rid of us. Okay, I've actually been doing a lot of, I know you were joking, but I've honestly been thinking about how do I judge who's friend material and who's not? And I've decided it doesn't matter. Because some people are capable of change, so you can never really fully write people off like that. But what does matter is checking in with yourself and knowing where your resources are sitting at so that you can distribute your energy, attention, love, and care prioritized to people who are able to give back to you so that it's a mutual relationship and a sustainable dynamic. If you keep giving all of your energy into people who can't give any of it back, it's not to say that they're toxic or bad, it's just they're not capable of feeding back, and so that relationship is just not organically sustainable. You have to be the one who keeps putting the coin into the video game to make it move, and that's gonna run you dry if you're not fucking rich. So it's up to you personally to determine who you want to keep in your life and not. And sometimes people don't love as much as you love, and so you might be projecting how hurt they would be if you stopped paying attention to them, but that might not be their reality. So sometimes you can just let friendships kind of sit on the back burner and coast and wait for them to reach out to you. And in the meantime, practice reserving your love and letting it grow and investing it in yourself so that you have more love to give when they do finally reach back out and come back to you. it's a constantly evolving dynamic. You have to be fluid with it if you don't want to breed resentment. Which I think is the biggest energy drainer, is resentment. Because that's self-generating. That's like a civil war within yourself, essentially. Freddie. I'm going back into comments as I snack on my delicious clearance blood orange. Freddie said a while back, even if the abuser changes, it would still be unwise to get back together, because not only do old habits die hard, but you're showing how much you still lack self-respect. That's why the government knows it can get away with it, because we keep thinking that they will help things get better as long as we vote for the right person. Y'all, I have been digging further, like my brain has been digging further into this conspiracy of sorts of like, maybe Kamala did mean to lose. Maybe it was just pre-planned, you know? The right and the left take turns playing good cop, bad cop, make you think there's a good cop and a bad cop, but all cops are bastards. And all cops are out for the bottom line of profit over people. So maybe they did do this so that Trump can continue what Biden started with this genocide, and then people will obviously blame Trump, blah, 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 and then will elect back another Democratic president, and people will have hope again, and they'll be relieved. But really behind the scenes is the same shit going down, except just to a lesser degree, just to keep you happy and bought into the fantasy that yes, this government is still democratic. Remember that this genocide started under a Democratic president, and remember how Harris shut down all the pro-Palestinian voters at the convention. Just don't forget those details and remember who you think is going to save you. Mind tends to go into worst case scenarios, and this week I was like, what if they defund quietly water sanitation? I'm just gonna be drinking filth soon. That was like one of the top reasons I stayed in New York, is because we have drinkable tap water. according to my own logic, everything we've observed go down in Palestine in the last year and a half, we should be prepared to experience in the next generation. They have AI, they have new weapons. Actually, I just saw a report that people are seeing new weapons being unleashed in Gaza right now. So they're testing new weapons out in this genocide. They're gonna need people to use it on. So that's why there's a portion of activists who have been asking everyone to divest your labor away from all these institutions, because you are ultimately feeding into the development of your own death. They will keep needing new populations to test new weapons on, whether or not that is actual physical warfare weapons or like AI weapons. I'm already seeing over the last 2 years how hard it is to get new jobs. I've seen friends struggle to get new jobs. I've heard of stories of acquaintances struggle to get jobs. They won't need as many humans anymore going forward for the purposes of profit. Because when you're prioritizing profit above everything else and you have more efficient tools to drive that profit, you won't need this much inefficient human labor anymore. So we ultimately, if we can't be useful as labor, we become fertilizer. Yeah, Tony out loud, empires rise and fall. They sure do. So, you know, exciting times. My dad sarcastically texted me. He's like, we sure live in exciting times. And remember, my dad's been through the Cultural Revolution and he's seen people get, like, publicly humiliated and executed. He's probably severely PTSD'd from those various experiences. Shit happens. Americans are not used to, this generation of Americans at least is not used to seeing it happen to them. And all the people who have seen it happen to them in America have been silenced. Think about how we have Black History Month now, but like we literally live in a country who killed the civil rights movement leaders. But we'll kill them first, and then we'll give them a holiday, and then we'll celebrate them. It's just as long as you disable the agency first, then you can give them all the accolades. Like the Lehis. That's how you become a philanthropist. That's how you become the good guy. You celebrate the good guys after killing them, and everybody forgets that you killed them. Unless they don't forget. Unless you don't forget that they killed them. And then what? Exhausting. Exhausting. Was the last stream this distressed? I don't know, maybe. I'm not keeping count anymore. Yeah, I'm noticing this pro-China sentiment kick into place lately. But it's, again, it's like a grass is always greener on the other side thing. Just because they're technically framed as the enemy of your current enemy doesn't mean that they're a friend. Think beyond the polarity, think beyond the dichotomies, think beyond the man, woman, the black, white, the good, the bad, think beyond it. Once you think beyond the struggle of the left and the right, you might be able to see some patterns. That explains why we keep repeating the same shit. And that doesn't mean that you need to do anything with that information, but it might help you understand why we're here. And maybe the answer is just to organically understand it first, without trying to exert any agency over change. Maybe this is just the way the world has always been. Maybe we're not that important. Maybe it's okay if we all die. Have you thought about that? You don't think very hard before crushing that roach in your house, do you? What if we are all just universally roaches? Dispensable, disposable, crushable. I'm hoping this will liberate you from the internal angst a little bit, you know? It's very morbid, you're not used to it. It might take you like 6 years to understand where I'm coming from. But I want to be the kind of like little baby roach that makes you pause and you're like, wait, is that a roach or is that just like a little long beetle? You know the kind I'm talking about? They kind of have like a little shininess to them. And they're kind of like a little bit rounded. They look like a fat sesame seed. That's the kind of roach I want to be. And they're very easily crushable. They don't run that fast. They have like a kind of satisfying crush squish sound when you kill them. That's the kind I want to be. I've stopped killing as many bugs. Sometimes I still kill them, but I like think twice before crushing something now. Because I'm just like, I'm a colonizer. I don't belong in this apartment. I'm on your land. Maybe we share. I don't know. So next time if you see roaches crawling all over my kitchen, that's what happened. Now, is that crazy or is that peace? Depends on who you ask and what they want. But only you will see yourself to the end. I wasn't even there for Grandma when she took her last breath. So as long as you're okay with you, that's like best case scenario. So you do whatever it is you have to do to feel okay with yourself. And if you ain't living with no bugs, then you will always have enemies. That's the price you have to pay for always wanting to kill bugs. But you do you. Maddie said a while back, and I don't know what this is referring to, but Maddie said those people are idiots. And you know what? Looking back at my own life, I have been an idiot, and I probably am still an idiot in so many ways. I ain't judging anymore. We're all idiots. Just up and down, cycling through our own types of idiocracy. So, as long as you understand why they're idiots, it will kind of neutralize the intolerable itch of why are these people doing that. So it's kind of my soothing salve of sorts to understand why people do the things they do, even if they're doing horrible things. Oh, maybe that was in response to the comment I got from the psychiatric nurse. They're not idiots. I understand now. People say things like that because when they watch me, I trigger something in them. So it makes them uncomfortable to be triggered, and they have to like correct me. And in their mind, they might actually, taking it in good faith, they might actually be trying to help me. Taking it in bad faith, of course, maybe they're just trying to like, look down on me and discipline me. But in good faith, I think that person has maybe been overexposed to people experiencing different sorts of traumas and mental conditions, and maybe they're burnt out and overworked, and maybe they're just like, oh shit, June's showing unhealthy signs of being stuck in grief and blah blah blah. I better make her recognize that she needs help. Maybe, but I think once you go beyond your own trauma, like I feel like my grief counselor is very able to absorb what I'm telling her without spitting back that kind of judgment, which is the kind of environment that I work well in to digest and work through my own issues. So, after 4 years of being on the internet very publicly, 5 years, I've now learned what it means to understand that it's not about you, it's about them. Sometimes truly, it's totally about them. And so understanding when to take the critique and when to leave it on the table has been a very, very useful lesson for me to integrate. But, it took years. It took years to understand. In the beginning, there were people very protective of me, and they were encouraging me to like disregard those comments, and they told me like, it's not about you, it's about them, like don't listen to the trolls, don't feed the trolls. And cognitively I recognized it, and I said, oh, yes, of course, but unconsciously I was still absorbing all of that, which is why, like even right now I'm responding to that comment because it touched something in me. So I also get triggered in return. So it's this kind of like dynamic of being triggered by each other, but also seeing who can learn from being triggered. I think being triggered feels very uncomfortable. It feels like someone's attacking you, but if you can learn from what that experience is teaching you, that's like being able to access another layer of your psyche that you weren't able to before. So I am still very thankful for the trolls. They push back in a way that basically strengthens the way that I'm able to mentally process myself. And I think like the number one thing you have to do for yourself, if you really want to be your best friend and you want to heal and you want to like be more at peace in this very problematic world that doesn't make any sense and is totally chaotic and violent, you have to like disarm the automatic judgment that you've absorbed from society, which is really hard to do. That might be why we are not able to meet ourselves with compassion and patience a lot of the times, but like that's crucial. Because that's like a resistance barrier. That kind of like inability to accept ourselves with compassion and acceptance, even if that makes you sad and depressed and shameful, reminds me of that exercise sometimes where you lie on your back, you bring your knees up at a 90-degree angle, and it's supposed to work out your core. you're like pushing your thighs away with your hands, and your thighs are pushing against your hands, so you're like working your core by pushing against yourself with your different body parts. You're not going to get anywhere if you're constantly judging yourself for not making progress fast enough and blah 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 blah. You can't rush poop sometimes. Like, you want to poop shit out, you want to get rid of the shit, but like, yeah, you can take, I don't know, extra fiber, or you can take a laxative, but like, that's painful too, and that doesn't solve the problem of what's actually going on inside your gut. That's like a one-time solution thing, you know? Sometimes you gotta wait for the poop to be done before it can be out of your system. There is nothing better than having a really good dump. Do you agree or disagree? It's like one of life's most inexplicable pleasures and privileges to have a good poop, you know? When I don't have a good poop, or when I don't poop, that's a bad day. There's nothing that can make that day right. So, okay, Aaron told me that the word prebiotics is actually just a marketing term for fiber. Probiotics is like all the good bacteria that exists in your yogurt, but apparently prebiotics is just fiber. And you have to figure out what fiber works for you. Some fiber do not work for the poop. I have discovered that smoothies help me poop better than anything else. I think it has to do with the way that I digest things now. There's something that's shifted in my digestive processes. I can't eat apples anymore without a stomach ache. I have to blend it into a smoothie, which makes me so sad. I think 8 times out of 10 when I eat a whole apple, I get a stomach ache about 20 minutes after. I don't know why, but I can only tolerate apples when they're completely blended into a smoothie now. Okay, Gary, I'm just gonna remind you of my grandma's dying advice. Like, she literally gave me this advice weeks before she died, and she told me, do not eat things that you do not want to eat, because your body will not digest them well. They won't digest them well. So help your body by listening to your body and paying attention to what it wants to eat. It will want different things on different days, and if you can show your body that your body can trust you to make the right decisions for it, then maybe it will cooperate with you a little bit more. It's like developing a friendship with your body. You know, we're also mentally driven. We're so cognitively logical, and we think science will solve everything, but sometimes let the body lead. Because certainly our brains have not led us to anywhere worthy of staying in. Like, we have AI now, but that shit is, I don't know. I don't know if that's a good thing. All right. These mustard greens look fairly clean, but sometimes I cut off the stem ends because they have these little tight branches that trap grit and dirt. Look at this. Look at this baby shoot just growing. I eat it. It's very delicious. If you ever pick a green apart like this and you taste the different components, like the juicier stem end, the skinnier stems, the little baby shoots, they all taste different. It's really fun. You get like a tasting platter off of one stem. You have the fibrous outside peel, and then if you peel that away, you're left with like This tender, crispy, juicy inside. That's like sweeter than anything else. Has a little bit of a mustardy kick to it, but very, very, very buttery in flavor. Yes. Oh my gosh, stress eating is big. I have been stress eating more in the past 3 months than I have been previously. I think it tracks with just seeing the chaos right now in America. I think it is some sort of like a primal instinct kicking into place. You know, when you're stressed, your body is meant like physically, biologically tuned to start gathering resources and reserving them because, you know, primally, you didn't know where your next meal was coming from if you were in that stress state, because you were like in a fight or flight mode. So some people shut down and don't eat, and some people eat a lot. Unfortunately, I'm the type that eats a lot when I'm stressed. All right, let's cook some tomato-y things. Let's see what I am able to find here. I have been trying to cook through my pantry and not stock up on too many things, but I wonder if my timing is off. I wonder if I should be hoarding stuff. Oh yeah, I still have these curry kits. Well, they both expired last year, so that's not good. Oh, maybe I can, okay. Malaysian red curry and Indonesian rendang. I think we can stew some tofu in here. Okay. Let's do a rendang with tofu. And then we'll still do the tomato sauce. But I think tomato sauce with the greens. Maybe some greens in here too. Okay. Rendang. I should have done this earlier, but I'm going to soak some wood ear now. This soaks really fast, so it shouldn't be a problem. I think that'll be good with the tofu. And then some TVP for our pasta sauce. That should be good. Should I just use both packets of the rendang? Potentially. Cool, that's enough to get us started. Got some firm tofu from H Mart. I think this was like $1.25. into the rendang, I'm gonna add some extra lemongrass because I almost never use this lemongrass powder, and I have some kaffir lime leaves. I think this was from a restaurant that I worked at, like, wow, maybe almost a decade ago? Holy shit. 10-year-old kaffir leaves. All right, here we go. Still smells good too. Wow. Yum. All right, we're gonna do the pasta sauce first because the wood ear has the bloom. I'm gonna add an onion into this pasta sauce, I think. I'm gonna use some butter to cook because why not? High cholesterol? Who is she? I don't know her. Just a nice tablespoon and a half. Okay, let's taste this butter. Trader Joe's repackaged their butter, so I don't know if it's the same quality anymore. Tastes okay. I don't know if it's as good as it used to be. Nothing like melted butter smell. Yum. I have this bolognese blend. Why not? Let's throw it in there. It has garlic powder, shallot powder, sun-dried tomato powder, thyme, oregano, nutmeg, and white pepper. Okay, no black pepper. Interesting. Well, we can add black pepper. Yum. Okay. I'm also going to add a little ginger in there. Oh, I didn't do my emotional score. I guess it's too late now to start with, but 90 minutes into the live, my emotional score today is about a 7. Not bad. My physical score, I would give a 6. It's passing, but I'm exhausted. I woke up exhausted. My eyeballs have been hurting for the last 3 nights, starting at around 6 p.m. I feel like it's my body telling me to go to sleep at 6 p.m., but I'm fighting it, which is not smart. I'm just fighting my body. So maybe I can stop fighting my body and go to sleep earlier. I've been thinking about, like, this is just how my brain works, I'm going back to it. Like, for example, people who leave comments telling me to seek help and all of that, if I'm triggering them to that extent, I think it's another layer of just, like, self-awareness and acceptance that maybe they haven't come to yet about trying to fix other people or trying to change other people. I think about this a lot, too, this dynamic within American politics of, like, this left versus right, liberal versus conservative, leftist versus liberal, which kind of, like, the inner fighting of the leftists, like, everybody's complaining about all of this, everybody's saying everyone else is dumb and uneducated or, like, racist, and I'm just like, yeah, but are you gonna meet them where they are? Because I don't know if we can change people like that, you know? So if that's just who they are and you're not meeting them where they are, what makes you think you're going to get anywhere? You're just going to perpetuate this dynamic of not liking them, being opposed to them, and then what? What is your action forward? All we're doing is labeling each other as broken or some kind of other bad thing, and we're diagnosing them with an illness, but we don't have a solution for it. I can't believe it's leaf blower season already. Holy shit. It's not even summer yet. What are they leaf blowing? Thanks, Rubina. You guys really don't have to hit anything you don't want to, because I've been thinking about this too. The more attention I get on this channel, the less sustainable it becomes. Because YouTube is not the platform to be doing what I'm doing. Because this does not make YouTube money. So I'm here as like an unwanted guest, really, at this point, because I'm not doing what the machine demands me to do. So the more attention I get, the more crackdown will happen. Again, progress is not progress. We have to rethink what progress is. So I've been actually losing subscribers on this channel, which at first I was like, oh man, and now I'm like, okay, goodbye. It's good. See, this is where the paradigms fall away. This is where the duality and the polarity fall away. It's not good or bad. It's good and bad, or neither. But you can never have just good. It's always good with a price. So I am okay with whatever happens. So let's see the sodium here, huh? 20% sodium in a total of 5 servings, so there's 100% sodium. A whole day's worth of sodium in this one jar. So I could use the whole jar if I split this into 3 meals. Depending on how saucy it's looking. It's looking pretty saucy. Do I want to add anything else into this mush? Oh, I'm going to actually make it saucier because I think I can eat some of my natto with this. I'm also going to hit it with a splash of Worcestershire. Adding Worcestershire to any tomato sauce thing makes it smell like ketchup. I'm gonna add some tomato powder in there to strengthen that weak sauce. It's like basically a tablespoon of tomato paste in here, really. Oh my gosh, guys, I forgot we still have a little bit of black truffle and there's delicious truffle oil in here, so I think I'm gonna drizzle in a little bit of this truffle oil. Oh my gosh, this is gonna make it taste so good now. Truffle oil. Okay. Yes. Luxury. And now the wood ear has softened, and now we can rinse it. I'm gonna turn the heat down on this a little bit. This is how dirty the first wash is. Pretty dirty. And very gritty.
Okay, I'm gonna add some woodier in here too, just for texture. And that gives me an excuse to put the rest of the sauce in because I don't want to keep a half cup of sauce perpetually lingering. And then I can use that jar to store whatever I don't end up eating today, which is perfect because one less thing to wash. All right, I'm going to set a timer and just let this cook for about 8 minutes, and then I can sit, have a break, catch up with you over chat, and then we can start eating some of this while I start cooking the tofu. But I gotta space it out because I feel my body giving out already. Let's see what you guys are up to. I'm gonna also give myself a little refill on my matcha smoothie here. This matcha is from 2020. I ordered 1 whole pound of matcha from Harney and Sons when we were still in quarantine. Because I was like, I need some excitement in my life and I want matcha and it's $50 for a whole pound. Sure, why not? And here I am, 5 years later, still drinking it. Okay. Wow, okay. There's a lot of bug talk. I'm scrolling all the way up, guys. All the way up. Okay. I'm not in the fan club, but should I be in the fan club? Should I be fans of you all now? I actually have Discord on my phone. I feel like that's gonna up my screen time even more. Also, all of you know where I am on Instagram. I respond to DMs on Instagram. So, you know where to find me. Maddie just randomly offered up I got diarrhea from crumble cookies. I'm sorry to hear that. I've only heard like horrible things about crumble cookies. Has anyone actually enjoyed them? I feel like all I've heard about is how they're overrated and they're dry and they're not good and they're expensive. All these hypes just go to show you that what people really, really pay attention to and consume and drive demand for isn't always worth the effort or the time or the money. Ooh, Lulu, you're making pig's feet today. How do you make it? That's exciting. I've only had like prepared pig's feet. It's pretty big in like braised cold cuts in Chinese cuisine. I've never made it myself. It's always been so bony looking. But maybe I should make some pig's feet. Go back to my roots. Andrea says, my experience with Kamala has been a fighter for women and children and victims. She's been a black Asian woman battling in a male-dominated justice system. I have a lot of sources who would disagree with that. A lot of sources. Is there something in the rise of fascism that would make you leave the US? Who knows? Like literally, I don't know. At the pace we're going, I don't know if ICE is going to show up to my door. I've been very pro vocal Palestinian causes and all the stuff they're cracking down. I just don't know what would happen. Is there anything that would make me voluntarily leave the US? I guess if things get bad enough and all my friends are leaving, if I have no support system here, why would I stay, you know? So then it just becomes a matter of like, I would be a political refugee from the very country that my parents asylumed in. Like, so where would I go? I don't have my Chinese passport anymore, they clipped it. China doesn't recognize me as a citizen anymore, so I would have to apply for asylum in other countries, and who knows what America's going to turn into. I'm not in that catastrophe mindset yet, so I'm not really going to worry about it, but I do know people who are already, you know, moving out of the United States of America. I do feel like you can escape this fire, but not the chaos of the world. It's bound to happen anywhere and everywhere. I also have Memo now. I don't know where I'm gonna move. I'm not gonna leave Memo behind. So I think moving with an animal is also another layer of worrisome practicalities. What color is June the bug? Can I be a glittery, shiny little baby roach? That would be so adorable, and you would possibly look at me with shock before killing me. Which is kind of what I am as a person too. I feel like I've received my fair amount of disdain and shock, and maybe one day It'll be squish time for me. Mmm. Yum. Okay, I'm gonna turn that off. I'm gonna let it sit for a while I catch up on chat, and then we'll serve ourselves a little bowl and wash out that pot and reuse it to make our tofu curry. Oh yeah, Madagascar hissing roaches. My ninth grade biology teacher had like a whole little crew of them, and I remember her walking around the classroom with them, and like some kids were so excited to handle them, and I was like, oh my god, get it away from me. I was screaming inside and panicking outside and like physically involuntarily shirking. And I think I would still do that. I'm really scared of stuff. Ghost spiders sound cool. Oh, has anyone been misunderstood but got verbally bullied for not understanding the other person despite your continued efforts in doing so? Freddie, are you also autistic? That sounds like a very autistic experience. I have definitely gotten various degrees of rejection and verbal bullying for sure. I think it's just the way I communicate. I get a lot of feedback regarding my tone. There's something about my directness that people interpret as offensive, and my ways of communicating feel like assault to them. So yeah, yes to that question. Okay, I'm reading this conversation between Andrea and Freddie regarding how to support people and what counts as real support. I agree, there are a lot of people who put resources on you and call that help and then leave you to like figure it out for yourself, and they feel like they've done their part and they wash their hands and they walk away. A lot of institutions do that too. Like HR fired me while saying they're there for me. Make it make sense. And one of the students who fled to Canada because ICE came looking for her, despite her very limited activities that were pro-Palestine, I just posted part of her like letter on my Instagram story today, and she was detailing how she was communicating with her managers at Columbia in the days leading up to ICE looking for her, confirming whether or not she still had legal status because she was on a visa, and they confirmed yes, she's still legal status and very much employed in the university. And then within days of that conversation, and even while she was still on a Zoom call, ICE came knocking looking for her. And Columbia, upon hearing this, all they did was gave her a list of lawyers to reach out to. And then immediately disconnected contact with her when ICE came knocking the second or third time. So dumping resources on someone and telling them that they need help is not always helpful. That is an extended form of bullying, I guess. And I don't think Colombia was doing this in good faith, given their track record. Again, know who you can lean on and know who to trust by observing their actions. Not just with you, because you might not have seen all the facades that they have arsenaled. Look at how they interact with other people. This is very, very important in romantic relationships and like friendships too. See how they treat other people. See how they treat their other friends. And it's only in hindsight that I realized some of the people that I dated weren't really always there for their friends. In fact, the situationship guy that I got really fucked up with, one of the last straws really that broke the camel's back for me was he talked shit about his friends and how they were boring, as a way to get an in with me, because he had basically ignored me for weeks. And then he shot me a text that was like, I was hanging out with my friends and we watched this movie that I liked and they were so boring, and my brain was just like, why would you need to drag your friends down to talk to me? Why would you do that? So emotional support, not everyone is capable of it. They don't have it in store to share with you. They might not even be able to support themselves. Which is why I tend to feel sorry for people who rely on bullying others now, because I just know that they don't have it within them to share that aspect of their experience on Earth. Freddie, maybe you're neurodivergent because you also hate leaf blower noise. I mean, I think everybody should hate leaf blower noise. It's exhausting to listen to that noise, but apparently some neurodivergent people, like autistic people, are very, very sensory sensitive. So noise is a huge trigger for me. I don't think I get triggered by textures as much as I've heard other autistic people might be. Like one of the most stereotypical TikTok or Reels is about how autistic people are so picky about their textures, food textures or touching textures or fabric textures. But noise is the one thing that makes me feel violently angry inside. It makes me rage, basically. So Tamara, thank you. Yes, I won't be editing my lives. I have no energy to edit my lives. And I think it's a practice in letting other people move more slowly than just this quick, edited, short, 90-second, 30-second, 15-second, 5-second thing. But also I'm just lazy, which is another word for I don't have energy because the world is exhausting me. Hello, Cat667. Have an amazing week. Yes, I am cooking something weird. I always cook something weird. And in this case, what we have cooked first is pasta sauce with, what is this called? Ruby Streak mustard greens with wood ear and TVP, textured vegetable protein. I added some spices to it. It's cooked with a little bit of butter, and there's some truffle oil in there as well. And so let's taste it. Let's taste it and see what we got. And then I plan on making some rendang with tofu and wood ear. Maybe this is my autistic thing or just my personal quirk, but I like to liken everything to autism now. But I always spend time looking at my spoons and thinking about which shape would deliver the food best into my mouth and which would be the most like pleasing shape to eat this food with. Does anyone else do this? Like I actually stand here and consider, all right, I got this mush. It's this texture. And I have this bowl here with this shape and this size. What spoon would fit my mood, this food texture, and sit in this bowl the best? Sometimes I stand here for like more than a minute, just depending on how many spoons I have left in here, and I just did my dishes. So I have all the spoons in here to choose from. And this is like part of living alone is like there's no one else to kind of rush me around or be considerate of. So I can take, and I don't really have a full-time job and I don't have anything in my life. So I can just stand here and think about which spoon I want to use. It's so funny to me. I do feel like part of me appearing more insane is definitely due to our like political climate for sure, and just how much secondhand trauma we've all experienced, at least secondhand if not firsthand. But part of it is living alone and also learning about autism, and also living with a cat who I thought was dying 2 months ago. And so I just let my crazy out because I was like so desperate at that point of physical burnout, mental burnout, emotional burnout. Grandma just died. And my cat was, I thought, dying. And so I like started singing to him, and that just became like a normal thing to sing to him. And now I just like sing on my own because I live alone and I don't have anyone else to judge me. So I don't like, I've taken away a whole tier of the panopticon of observing myself through other people's lens. So I feel like living alone and witnessing the downfall of society and all its lies, and dealing with like death at a greater scale in terms of observing genocide, and also death in my personal life, has enabled me just organically to unmask if I have autism. I don't know if I do, but if I have autism, I feel like I've unmasked a lot. Because I just took the RADS-R test again, and I feel like a year ago when I took it, I scored maybe 108 or around 110, which is kind of like the borderline between possibly autistic and not autistic. I took it again last week and I scored 148. So, I don't know. I don't know what that means. We got to do the Free Palestine in the background. Oh yeah, I have sauerkraut too. Wood ears are a kind of fungus. I don't know if they're technically mushrooms. I'm not scientifically well read on what classification they are, but they're related to mushrooms, yeah. Just so you know, this is also an autism cliche. It is. Oh man. Okay. I guess we are all just cliches at the end of the day. That's cool. I love raw arugula because I love the peppery flavor of it. If you cook arugula, just like if you cook mustard greens, it takes away a lot of that spiciness. But you can cook it like you cook spinach. It wilts really fast. I've done arugula before with like a ricotta, spiced ricotta filling, like almost like a baked ziti or a baked lasagna. I think it goes really well with creamy stuff because it's kind of spicy. But you can just melt it into like a cheesy pasta and call it a day too. I also like to melt it on top of vegan chili or vegetarian chili. Just like really thick stewed bean chili. And then I put a fistful of arugula on top, and then the heat of the chili basically wilts it. Doesn't cook it too much, it still retains some of that spiciness, but it wilts it down so that it's not like cold and crunchy. Yeah, the colorful utensil tray is from my mom. I found it in her kitchen and I decided to keep it. I have a lot of mom's accidental hand-me-downs, her early death hand-me-downs here. But as you can see, I'm not really into organization. Like, my utensil drawer was a mess. I'm not that kind of autism. My brain is very like, even if I try to be neat and organized, it goes to shit within a day or two. I've always felt more comfortable in chaos. But it's like an organized chaos because I know where everything is. I have like a very visual memory. I almost never forget a meal if I took a photo of it. I've realized this in college because I was a student campus photographer for my work study program, and I realized that like I'll forget things if I don't take a photo of it, but if I took a photo of it, I can recall it. I can recall the rough time or year. I can recall who I was with that day. But no photo, no memory. So. Thank you for your support and my unfortunate cliche autism, Gary. Ooh, okay. Okay, Freddie, I love that description. Freddie said, ironically, learning about the self and others through shadow work and educational resources is what I dubbed masochism porn, which ties into feeling that your good self is unwanted, while your bad self is ironically asked for more, while simultaneously villainized under seemingly progressive and conservative standards depending on your current audience. I have shadow work has been really crucial for me to like integrate parts of myself. The parts of myself that brought shame that I was trying to like correct and eliminate. Masochism porn though, very, very, very fascinating term. That one's gonna kind of stay in my brain matter. Masochism porn. I also can't recognize people's faces in public sometimes. Like, I'll just not see them. Like, even if they come right up to me sometimes. I passed by my coworker yesterday. I was coming out of the bathroom. She was going into the bathroom. And it took me like 3 seconds of walking past her to be like, yo, that was your coworker. Turn around and say hi. Yeah, I don't know. I've always felt bad about this because I'm like, oh, I don't care about people. How can I not recognize my friends? This is so embarrassing. But I realized that I don't really pay attention to people's faces or recognize them instantaneously like that. this is delicious. All the textures in here are so fun. The mustard green, the stemmy parts, they're still a little bit crunchy, almost like a pickled mustard green if you've ever had a pickled Chinese mustard green root tuber thing. And then the leaves are a little bit like wilted spinach, like cooked down spinach, dip spinach. And then there's a little bit of onion, which is silkier. The wood ear is a little bit slippery and slight little soft, tender crunch almost. It's not quite crunch, but I don't know how to describe that texture. Wood ear is a very fascinating texture that reminds me of cartilage, which also a lot of Americans don't eat. So I have no way of communicating what this tastes like to y'all, but yeah, maybe this is not a texture that Americans are familiar with, and therefore there is no vocabulary that is coming to mind to describe it. But there's also chunks of tomato from the sauce. It's sufficiently saucy, which makes this delicious. I'm really glad I dumped in the whole jar. Very enjoyable. I'm gonna add in a little, I'm gonna add in a little bit of slimy natto for my little vitamin K kick. Yes. This was a very successful batch of natto. Yes, yes, kelp, exactly. Kelp is correct. Thank you for that. But also, I don't think a lot of Americans eat kelp either, so they might not be familiar with what kelp tastes like. But yes, you're right. It's like the more thick kind of kelp. Yeah, I got this from the Salvation Army, this fork. It remains one of my favorite forks. It's very lightweight. It does change the taste of the beans to nattoize them, yeah. A lot of people struggle with this flavor. It does taste a little bit mildewy. More appetizing ways to describe it would be cheesy, because if you think about it, some cheeses also smell pretty mildewy and moldy because they are literally moldy. But there is that kind of like dank funk to natto. It tastes a little bit like how wet dog food smells. Just a little, like 18% wet dog food. But the rest of it, is a combination of like 50% brie rind, just the rind of brie, and like a very, very clean wet paper towel. Does that help? Did I sell natto to you? Yeah. I think I have eaten one bite of dog food before, and it was like a dry kipple. Because I was curious. I was like, it looks so good and it sounds so crunchy. And I have eaten wet paper towels before, accidentally. You know, sometimes you wash something and you're drying it with a paper towel, and sometimes it gets stuck to things. Or sometimes you wrap a sandwich in a paper towel, and you're trying to not touch the sandwich with your bare hands because your bare hands are disgusting. Because because you're disgusting and your city is disgusting and other people are disgusting. So then you go and you peel back the paper towel and you take a bite of your sandwich, and sometimes you accidentally bite a little too much and you get a little paper towel in your mouth, and then the saliva wets the paper towel and suddenly you're eating wet paper towel. Just happens. Listen, if men can have sex with you and suddenly the condom just isn't there anymore, anything can happen. Natto is an acquired taste. Honestly, I wouldn't be eating it regularly if it were not for the health benefits. But I read a research paper that was like, natto extract has been shown to help autoimmune stuff. So I was like, it can't hurt. And at this point, anything that can prevent further disability development is a win in my book, so I'll try anything. And so my friend was already making natto at home, so he gave me some instructions and advice, and I was like, cool, let's try this. And then I started making it, and there's just something so delightful about the process of succeeding in making something yourself that, like, that's an added bonus. A lot of my cooking is not about making something delicious. That's the bonus for me, if it turns out delicious. Most of why I cook what I cook is because I want to play with the food. It's like an experiment. It's like playing the lottery with food, basically, and you get to see the transformation. So our objectives are different. And natto has a naturally occurring vitamin K. Not a lot of foods have naturally occurring vitamin K. So, it's like a health thing. But your taste buds are so adaptable. You can trick yourself into liking certain things and not liking certain things. A lot of people have tricked themselves into not liking butter and bacon. That was me for a long time, for like a solid decade of my life. I was like, I don't like bacon, I don't like butter. But that was because I had like severe eating disordered mind, where I was like, all fats are bad. Don't eat fats. Butter is all fat and bacon is all fat and you can't eat that. And so my brain was just like, I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like it. Who doesn't like butter and bacon? You're wired to like fat and salt. Hello, Los Angeles. Yes, natto is all about the mix-in. And you're just exposing yourself to new things. What is life if not injections of new things constantly? Okay. Let us transfer out some food into this jar and continue cooking our second dish for the week. Guys, can you believe we're almost in April? We survived the first quarter of 2025. What a feat. What a feat. think I'm gonna put this in a bowl so I can eat it later. So I know I'm gonna be hungry again. And I am so lazy, I'm not even gonna wash this pot. We're just gonna cook in it. I'm gonna start with one packet and then we'll see where it takes us. Let me just see the nutritional info on one packet. 4 servings per container. So I might, but there were 2 packets in here. So is this 1 container or 2 kits? I'm so confused. It says serving size is 2 tablespoons. Okay, that looks like. All right, I don't know anymore. Whatever. That was very confusing. All right, we're gonna drop our lime leaf in here. We're gonna add some lemongrass. Yum. I'm going to add a little bit of turmeric and black pepper for that health kick. They are complementary flavonoids, whatever you want to call them. Black pepper and turmeric makes it more bioavailable for your body, apparently. And I'll chop up one more onion for this. anyway, my mind is going back to what I did yesterday, which was attend a chocolate convention of sorts. And I was thinking about, like, ooh, that onion. I was thinking about how in our political climate, I don't think I would have been allowed to wear a keffiyeh as a, like, a employee representative of a company, if not for this company. I was like, you know, it's sad that it's come to this, but at least I'm lucky enough to be able to wear my keffiyeh out to a work event. That was cool. So I am thankful for the things I do still have. And I was thinking about this last night as I was falling asleep, that I wonder what I would do if I couldn't find a job that let me wear keffiyehs to work events. Would that be my bottom line? Because where are the lines of fascism now? I guess I should have put the veggies in first. Oopsies. Just added a splash of water so that we wouldn't burn everything right away. Adding in these veggies. I'm gonna also chop. Some things are going out of order. My brain's not very organized today, but it'll all get cooked, don't worry. All right, now I'm gonna chop some ginger. I've had far more positive experiences wearing my keffiyeh than not. I've had maybe 2 instances of people heckling me for wearing the keffiyeh. Never at events either, always outside. But I've had far more people say things to me, like absolute strangers. I've had this happen to me at events, in a park, on the street, where people would just say to me like, I like your scarf. That, I don't know how it came to be, but like that's the phrase I get. I like your scarf. That's it. People don't mention the keffiyeh at all. They don't say anything else. They just keep it simple. And I really appreciate it. It almost feels like code speak in a lot of ways. I just don't know where it originated from. But it's those moments of just like stranger solidarity that make me think, okay, you know, we are here. We are out here. A lady came up to me yesterday at the show too, just like passing by the chocolate stalls, and she said to me, I like your scarf. Caught me totally by surprise. And that was it. It was just passing. And I don't know what the right way to respond is, if there is a right way, if there's a code speak way, but I just always say thank you. I almost treat it like it's a compliment, because I like your scarf just sounds like a compliment, but I feel like there's more to it than just I like your scarf. You know what I mean? All right, I'm gonna add in that other pack because this shit is a year expired, and I feel like it's running a little dry with this much ingredients, and I still have to add in half a block of tofu. So let's just finish it off. Today is the day we cook Indonesian rendang sauce with carrots, mustard greens, tofu, and wood ear. Sandira says, I buy all kinds of stuff because I think of what I can make, and then I end up not wanting to make it. I was just thinking about that while grocery shopping today. I was like, this is the way I buy things. I buy things, and then I think about what to make. I never buy things specifically with a recipe or a food item in mind. I think looking back, 9 out of 10 times I've done that was because I was dating someone and I was thinking about, making a specific thing for them. Which I was looking back, I was like, oh, you were performing for them. You know, you were doing something out of the ordinary that you would have never done for yourself. Like, you were performing for them, even though you thought you weren't. So, dating takes a lot of energy out of me. Energy that I do not have anymore. But maybe it was energy I never needed to spend. Silly me. At the end of the day, and this is something my friend Daisuke kind of highlighted for me, at the end of the day, all love is narcissistic. And I don't mean that in like a mental illness kind of connotation, I just mean like narcissists, as in falling in love with yourself. you know? I think we do a lot of things thinking about the way we want to be loved, and we do it for the other person because it's how we want to be loved, but it's not really how they want to be loved. I think back to some conversations I've had with an ex post-breakup, and I was like, well, that's not what I wanted. You never asked me if that's what I wanted, you know? Like, so I think a lot of things like that happen, and then we feel misunderstood or taken for granted when maybe we loved in a very self-centered way that they didn't interpret as love because they don't want to be loved in that way. It's me who wanted to be loved in that way. And so I felt like a failure in a lot of ways, and maybe he felt like I didn't really love him because maybe I didn't love him. Maybe I loved myself. It's gonna be a tight pot. Let's eat a cube of tofu like it's cheese, because it kind of is. I'm gonna add some Worcestershire for that fermenty note, that fermenty bottom note. I bet this shit is also expired. When did you expire? Oh, that's right. The date is no longer legible. So, and then we have this leftover bean paste dressing that we made for a salad last week. You can throw that in here. Give me all that umami. I don't think I can fit all the Whittier in here, so I think I'm probably just gonna blanch the rest and use it like almost like a grain. Just add it to my other food throughout the week. Not gonna force it into this pot, limited capacity pot. So food is already hopping out. Says, that's it. I can't fit in here. The resistance of the mushrooms. All right, let's let this cook down a little bit. We can take a breather. Oh my gosh, I'm so tired. This energy sap is quite interesting because I'm so used to not having energy anymore, so now I'm just like not surprised by it, but I'm literally just standing here and stirring a pot and I'm exhausted. Okay. How sad. And yet we are here. My favorite color is like pink variations. It can even go into like a dark red too. If I had to pick a color, it would be pink. I think I have like an emotional, like it almost feels like a safety blanket to me. It has this like very childlike appeal to me. It makes me feel able to love and hopeful in that childish way. So, hi, dear Wong. Yes, I have gotten so many compliments on this hand tattoo. Everyone from like nurses at grandma's facility to even yesterday at the event, people who are working backstage to help distribute samples with us. Yeah, thank you. It was just such a random design, but it worked out well. I'm glad people like it. I like it. This also marked the beginning of my embracing my sadness, because this guy looks like a little washed up emo alien rock star. So he doesn't quite belong, and he's like sending out bat signals to his kinship who might have just disappeared, and so he's all alone and he's sad, but you know, he's still here, being his crazy little misfit self. Hi Jenny. Yes, that was drumstick lemongrass powder from Vietnam. 100% dried lemongrass. I figured I'd add it to our Indonesian curry to prime the little expired packet. You eat 1 to 3 eggs every day. Okay, that's a very expensive diet now. Cupcake paper is more satisfying. You guys are freakier than I am. See, I don't like eating cupcake paper because that's usually parchment, so it's meant to be water resistant, so it doesn't break down the same way. But if you're chewing on a Bounty paper towel versus like a dollar store knockoff brand, very different textures as well. Bounty takes a lot of chew. You're likely to feel like it's not breaking down, but the dollar store one, sometimes it just dissolves into your food and you don't even realize it. So I've definitely eaten more paper towel than I should have. Tofu is very versatile. Justice for tofu, you know? I joked with my friend Samira about visiting Florida so I can see where my one situationship and one ex grew up, so I can understand how they became who they are. And she was like, I don't know if I can go with you. There's such a taboo shield around setting foot into Florida, but hey, maybe there's more truth to that than I'm willing to recognize right now. I don't think I can handle a dog right now. I think a dog would love eating all my trash food, but I don't have enough energy to keep up with the dog. I barely have enough energy to keep up with Memo sometimes. He's very demandy. Lee says, as a gay man, I see this when gay men couples literally are like twins. It's creepy AF. There are some people who look like siblings, like straight couples. They look so similar to each other. They look like siblings. But sometimes I'm like, oh, they're gonna last. They're gonna be forever, you know, because they look like they fit together. Okay, where is this myth of not reheating things coming from? Because, not that I'm, you know, the epitome of health, but I haven't died yet from reheating things over and over again. Who is this propaganda serving? I bet it's to propel food waste. So you keep buying things. Okay, but what if I can fit all of the Whittier in the pot? What if? Also, can we talk about pathological demand avoidance? Because I would love to learn about your knowledge on it, your experience with it, whether or not you think you have it. I think I definitely have some form of it. I just didn't know it was a thing until last year. And I was like, oh, this makes sense. I also think about all the times I went on trips with Aaron and I had like total bitch meltdown moments, and I was like, maybe that was just me being overstimulated, because that I felt bad being so out of control and in meltdown mode. But if I am autistic, it sure would explain it. I both didn't want to make decisions about our itineraries, and I also felt like so oppressed in a way that I had almost no say in where we were going, and I wanted always to be like, I had to constantly check in and be like, where are we going now? Where are we going now? Where are we? I'm sure it was exhausting for him too, but I didn't know what was really happening. All I knew was I didn't like tagging along constantly without knowing what was coming next. And I wonder if that was me being a picky bitch or autism brain. Maybe both. They don't have to be exclusive. But autism might explain a lot more than just me being a bitch. Alright, the carrots still need to cook down quite a bit. And I'm really starting to crash now. So I'm gonna put on another timer. I'm gonna come on back here. Freddie says, there's tragic irony of someone demanding for your authenticity and not your performance, but then criticize you for both. Should we not try to learn or grow to understand? Okay. I think it's okay to be critical of things, but I think in a relationship that is sustainable, yes, you must be open to try to learn and grow to understand. What I have found out is, like, in most relationship dynamics, especially my last two, I found that, like, the other parties seem to always frame it as a me issue. You know, like, I'm being inconsiderate, I'm doing things, like, in a weird way, or I misunderstood capitalism and I'm just, like, volatile and combative, rather than them being interested and curious and engaged. It's almost like they felt like I was too much trouble to deal with and they weren't up for it, which is totally fine, but then say that instead of your X, Y, and Z, and have that be like a judgment framed as an objective truth. I think that's what ends up hurting people a lot. But I also think that this is like a social dynamic where they want to pin you down as someone who is wrong or doing something wrong so that they don't need to continue with you. Because if you give them credit of just being different, then there's still room for negotiation of, like, continued partnership and learning together. But if they really just don't want you, I think the easiest way to move forward is to say, hey, you're a bad person, goodbye. You know, so I get it now. I just, I think I was holding on to this fantasy of finding someone who would be able to, like, be down to learn about me and do teamwork, but I'm learning that we are so used to convenience and being catered to and, like, just quick satisfaction that finding people who are willing to do the work together and form a partnership together is quite a task. Quite a task. What is one of your favorite things you have on your fridge? Like a decoration thing? Well, I have this magnet. It's kind of hard to deny that I love this, and also is greatly saddened by it. I know it's backwards right now because it's mirror image, but it says, I love you, Mom. And I think this is a picture of me and Mom in Tokyo when we lived in Japan briefly. Look at how mischievous I am. I've always been a little freak, you know? And my mom is so nice and pretty and, like, classy. She's such a classy woman, and I'm just like this little imp. I'm a little imp. That was actually one of the photo magnets that my neighbor, who unfortunately found my mom dead, like, snapshotted and sent to me. I didn't know that neighbor at the time, but I was alerted of my mom's passing away through an Instagram DM from a total stranger, if you can imagine it. And the moment I saw that picture was the moment that I realized it was not a sick joke and that my mom was actually dead. I didn't know how or why, but I knew at that moment that they were in my mom's house and truly something bad had happened. Ooh, that was such a wild day, man. Oof. Why can't you believe that my favorite color is pink? Is it because I'm so cynical? People don't see, just, like, you can have conflicting sides, and they don't have to be in synchrony all the time. I can be this bitter, cynical person, but also like and delight in pink stuff. Oh yeah, see, Sandira, you remember that I named him Batty. Amazing. Some of you remember everything. A lot of people don't understand what it is. Listen, I don't know what he is. But he reminded me of like a little alien bat creature that looks like a washed up 80s rock star. Just like sending out some bat signals of like phoning home. He just wants to go home. His eyeliner is running down. It looks badass, but he also looks kind of sad. Everyone's just talking about how they like eating wet paper towels now. That's great. I also like the smell of wet brown paper towels. They smell so rustic and earthy, natural, if you may. I did visit K-Town in LA. When I went to LA for my Delish job assignment, when they were still trying to cozy up with the Netflix folks, they had enough money to fly me out with other team members to schmooze with Netflix people to try to land a TV show deal. And that was the day that I started realizing what an awful, nonsensical company Hearst was. They gave me a stipend of $50 a day to spend on food, $30 capped for dinner. And I found this Korean soup place that had bowls of bone broth with like, you know, some rice and kimchi for $15. And I said, okay, this meal costs $15 plus tax is like $17. Let me just tip the rest of my $30 allowance for dinner. So I ended up tipping like, you know, the price of the meal basically. And then days later, after I submitted my expenses, on Labor Day of all days, they sent a contractor who worked in HR to email me to say that I can't tip more than 15%. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? Don't I have this allowance? And they were like, yeah, but you have to tip fairly. And I was like, okay. And he was like, maximum 20. And I was like, but I didn't exceed my daily stipend for food. Like, why are you limiting the amount? And then, guys, on Labor Day, they sicked a contractor worker after me to pay back the tip. I had to end up paying that over tip with my own money, if you can believe it. What a petty ass company, y'all. What a fucking petty ass company. This wasn't Netflix, this was Delish, owned by Hearst. This was Hearst people. Netflix didn't end up giving them a TV show deal, even though they spent months rearranging our homepage to cater to the Netflix desires. And we schmoozed with them and all of that, and they didn't land the deal. They have all this money to fly people out and schmooze with Netflix, and they don't have $13 for me to tip restaurant workers. Get the fuck out of here. And it's exhausting. Do you know how much time you just wasted sending a contractor worker after me to argue with me on $13 tip? Make it make sense. And I don't think you realize in the moment when things like that happen, just how like humiliating it is for your ego to understand this is the company that you're giving yourself to. You know, it makes you feel dirty afterwards. If I'm going to draw a comparison of living under capitalism as like all of us are sex workers because we're selling our bodies in various ways in exchange for money and survival, I felt like such a dirty whore after working for a company like Hearst. So I'm really glad to get out of that whorehouse. There's great sex work where you are valued and you feel safe and comfortable, and there's horrible, extractive, exploitative sex work. And like, as far as corporate jobs go, that was it. That was when I realized I can't survive in an environment like that. And you know, my managers like would get invited out to have managers only lunch meetings or dinner celebrations. They also accidentally leaked a document that showed that the editor-in-chiefs at each publication under Hearst could earn bonuses that exceeded double the salary of some of our full-time workers. And for a company to like be like, yo, you can't tip this much while remaining within my stipend, logically does not make sense. I'm allowed to spend $50 for the whole day, and I ended up spending $30 on dinner, and somehow that was against the rules. I don't even know how they pay people to look so closely at receipts. Somebody had to look at the receipt that I uploaded and be like, she tipped too much. Why are you even looking at, just look at the total amount. Why are you even sending people to look at tip? Why is this a thing? I just don't understand. Somebody please explain it to me. All right, we fit, by the way, all of the Whittier into the pot. So I did the impossible, what I thought was impossible. And the carrots are cooked. Yay! Capitalism just is so dumb. Once you get over the trauma of like having no power under this machine, once you get over that and you accept how horrible it is, and you allow yourself to take a step back and just like observe it like you're not involved in it, you see through all the bullshit and you're just like, this is fucking hilarious and dumb as fuck. No, I don't have rice. I'm actually looking into buying rice, but I currently don't have rice. And that's why I put all the Whittier inside, because I figured the Whittier would kind of be a sort of rice substitute element. I just ate a shitload of chocolate yesterday at the show, so I'm obviously not being too careful about my pre-diabetes. Maybe I'll get rice after I finish all my pasta. That's definitely expired in the pantry. so sorry that I just pushed Freddie into a spiral of researching what PDA is. But it has been a very fascinating thing to learn about. I didn't know it was a condition. I just thought it was me being difficult because people would literally tell me you're being difficult. Yeah, Freddie, I feel like we're on a very similar wavelength, which makes me feel like we're potentially either both autistic or just both really difficult people, socially speaking. But yes, I also agree that I don't mind breaking up, but I really don't like the projection and the blame. It's just so unnecessary. I would rather solve the issue or like come to an agreement about it together rather than just being written off. It's really, it feels like you're being discarded, like literally thrown away like a piece of undeserving trash. But now that I understand what our world is about, like I understand why people do things like this because it's kind of like a developed survival adaptation. Our world is so disposable on so many different fronts that like it makes sense that people treat each other like they're disposable too. And now that I have a little more self-respect, which has taken some time to nurture and grow into, I can try to guide myself away from people who display those traits and just recognize that they're not able to meet me where I want to be met. Yeah, my mom was so beautiful. I unfortunately I look more like my dad and I look a lot like my grandma. My face is like a lot flatter and wider and like more exaggerated than my mom. My mom had such a just like a balanced like symphonic beauty to her. Like everything worked, you know? She's yeah, she didn't choose very wisely for her other 50% genetic pass down. But we ended up creating this brain, this very, very interesting brain, that's for sure. Shout out to her neighbors though, yes, truly. I'm so thankful that her neighbors, I don't know, her neighbors were just amazing. I can't believe they were willing to help to the degree that they did and just so responsible. I didn't know baddie was a thing. I don't know what Fern Gilly is a thing. I'm like not American enough to know. Fern Gilly, 1992. Yeah, a little bit before my American time. Well, I would have been 3. I wouldn't have even remembered that thing, but I'll look it up later. I love that they gave you a Taco Bell dining budget, right? Oh, the mega corporation who brought you the Spanish-American War? Yes. Started on yellow journalism. The seed of conflict. Fake news. We did it. We cooked to the brim. Edging it. Let's trademark that. That's my new tagline. chicken bulgogi bowl for $5. That's amazing. That's really amazing. I didn't hear Memo meowing. I think you're hearing pigeons. It could be the food breathing. Some of you are high on shrooms, clearly. Hey, JM. Celia says we were having a downsizing convo at the office closing, and they had the managers guarding the Costco cookies to make sure each person just got one. Humiliating. That's humiliating. That's wild. Cleo says the bean counters have to do it for the bottom line. I know you're just asking in jest, but we're really paid to track every penny. Yeah, I don't blame the worker who came after me. I know he was just doing his job. I just thought it was such a big irony that, like, I got served this, you tipped people too much on Labor Day by a contract worker from a huge mega corporation. It was like just like such a combination of elements that day. I don't blame any single person, but the system is hilariously tragic and cruel. And it's like, you don't feel good doing that job, right? You also know that it's really fucked up and just WTF, but you do it because that's how you get your paycheck. It feels like sex work to me, like not positive sex work. It feels like you're being kind of forced to traffic yourself, really. I'm looking into buying rice. It's true. Do you miss apples and peanut butter? Thank goodness you said peanut butter, because I think my stomach was missing something. I was missing peanut butter. Here's where we are at a week in. So I did not eat all of it in a week. So there's that. And I do keep it in the freezer because then you get to chew on it. You can chew on this like it's ice cream. And you know what? I do miss being able to eat apples, but I've discovered that through all the heartbreak of losing capability or losing access to certain things, I can then be opening myself up to experiencing other things, other fruits, other foods, you know? So it's I must welcome the change and find the happiness in it. We must imagine Sisyphus happy. Eh? Oh yeah. If I ever step foot in LA again, I would love to meet up with some of you and eat together, because I bet y'all know where to eat. But me going back to LA is not on the top of my list. Everybody told me not to walk there, and I walked, and I got strangely hit by a car. So strangely hit by a car. What a story. I also totally agree that capitalism changes the way people date. Absolutely. Capitalism changes the way we function, period. It infiltrates every aspect of our lives. It colonizes our minds. I know that word is so like lefty-libby, but like it does. It colonizes your mind. It makes you second guess what you want. It makes you second guess your right and wrongs, your internal compass. It makes you shut down the parts of yourself that don't fit because you get punished when you don't fit. And so you want to obviously avoid being punished. But you do that long enough and they keep pushing the line into your self-respect, and you reach a point where you don't know how to respect yourself anymore, and then you end up in toxic relationships because capitalism itself is a very toxic relationship. Unfortunately, it's one that you don't have a choice to opt out of at this scale, at this stage of capitalism. I just saw this meme. Did you see that, what was it? What food delivery service just put like a layaway plan? Like you can literally pay in installments for your takeout now. And somebody was like, what stage of capitalism is this? Because it's truly ridiculous now. Imagine ordering dinner and you have to put it on loan. DoorDash. Yeah, thank you. DoorDash has a installment payment plan now. Wild. So then it comes to like, are you seriously going to go into debt because you want takeout, or are you just gonna be okay with eating mush like me? Because it's true, takeout costs, like my friend will order pizza with tax and tip and delivery. One pizza will come to like $48 to $60 depending on which topping. It was a big pizza, but still, it's a lot of money. And at that point, I'm just like, well, I can't afford to eat like that, so let me go buy my $1 oranges and my $2 yogurts and just like whip some things up, you know? For me, not being in debt is of the utmost importance because that's the way I was raised. Like, debt isn't a thing in my mental vocabulary. My parents would never take on debt, not even to buy a house, you know? But the American way is built on debt, so it's much more natural for Americans to be like, all right, cool, just put it on the credit card. But that's also another thing with like dating here in New York City. I'm dating a lot of American mindsets, and it just doesn't fit with my more immigrant criteria for how to live. So that cultural gap is so strong. Aw, thank you for calling me beautiful. I know, I still have 50% of mom, so her beauty is somewhere in me. But yes, I think more than just the physical beauty that my mom embodied, she was such a pure soul. She was so innocent, and she really suffered living in a society like this. There were moments where I was in my early 30s and she was 60, and I was thinking, how could mom still think the world is a justice-based place at her age? It almost felt like she wasn't able to integrate the observed reality with her, you know, ideal hopes of what the world could be. She clung so heavily to her hopeful realities. But I think I did inherit that from her. So unfortunately now with seeing a genocide go on and living in a country that's funding it, like, that has been a lot for a lot of us to absorb and accept and understand. I don't know how my mom would have handled this. Everything she believed about the US is like being debunked right now. She believed that the US had free speech, free journalism, like free press, you know. She believed in all these freedoms, and I believed in it too, and I think a lot of us did, and maybe a lot of us still do, and a lot of us who do believe that Trump is the one ruining it. But I think that if a country can descend into this chaos this quickly, that system of justice was never solidly in place. It was just a facade. And Trump had, the big bad wolf blowout, and it just knocked the facade down. There's no solid foundation for these freedoms that we took for granted for a very long time. That was mostly propaganda holding it in place, and very strategic cover-ups in Washington that prevented us from seeing the reality of what they were doing behind closed doors. I don't believe in these freedoms in the US anymore. Simply because if you have eyes and you're willing to observe the reality, we don't have them. They're not in place anymore. So if it can be debunked this quickly, it means that it was never a solid rooted principle that held the country down. It was just like a little sour coating on the Skittle, but most of it was just bland candy sugar. What was the best chocolate from the convention? It was a Taiwanese chocolate, and it was $24 a bar, and they don't have a distributor here in the States yet, so it's like all being third party sold, but it was tea flavored. It was such a beautiful floral unfurling of what tasted like a rich oolong, maybe? Or jasmine. I couldn't quite suss it out, but it was almost as floral as a Earl Grey. And it was just so elegant. It was sweet, but the sweetness combined with the creaminess of the chocolate and the floral bitter tannicness of the tea. And they only gave us like a tiny little square, like maybe the size of my pinky nail. But the flavor was just so solid. So that was probably the best chocolate I had there. But there was a Burlap and Barrel collaboration chocolate with a company that I forgot, but they had chili peppers, crushed chili peppers embedded in the chocolate bar, and it was just like so well seasoned. Very, very balanced heat, warmth with the sweetness and the cloyingness of the chocolate, and it just was very enjoyable to chew on and savor. To Sunny, I didn't leave Delish voluntarily, although you could argue that I pushed the line too far, but they fired me. And it was the best thing to happen to me then in my life, because I needed to get the fuck out of that place. Oh, Godzilla pie. That's a double whammy. I'm so sorry. I would love to come to Malaysia. I would love to be able to go back to China and deliver grandma's ashes in person. The US just seems very chaotic now, and planes are crashing with like much higher rate of occurrence than before, I feel like. Everything just feels unsafe right now. You know what I mean? So my gut is like, maybe don't go anywhere right now. Because if you leave, you might not be able to come back. I'm also a little bit scared about Memo. He doesn't eat when I'm not home. I'll go out for 8 hours either to meet up with friends or attend an event, and I'll come back and I'll see that he didn't touch his food at all. He only eats when I'm home and after I pet him. If there's on any day that I don't pet him for at least an accumulated 30 to 40 minutes, he doesn't eat well that day. So, Disciple's Voice asked a while back, what do you think about the Department of Education closing down? Well, I've likened the deconstruction of the Department of Education to when poultry farm corporations force poultry farm workers to cull sick birds. So they do the most dirty, traumatic work of killing all these birds. And then after they kill all these sick birds, they get laid off. And so I think that's what the government is doing right now, is making the Department of Education like send out all of these fascist rules to these universities, wait for their compliance, and then they'll shut them down more thoroughly. Or they'll keep like a little skeleton up, again, just to keep up the facade. But it's all the same people in all these circles, you know, the same people sitting on the boards of these universities, looking out for their profit bottom line, the same people that basically runs the government from behind the scenes through lobbying and connections and pulling strings and politicking the politicians. So now that Palestine has allowed us to see how all of this works, I'm not surprised anymore. What Department of Education? I mean, I got most of my education here in the States, and they have been very successful at brainwashing me about what America is all about, which is why we have to like unlearn a lot of the stuff now based on our observations, because we were taught to believe in a certain image of America, and clearly that is not what we're seeing right now. So it's causing a lot of cognitive dissonance. It's shaking us, some of us who really bought into the fantasy and the lore of the United States, to our core. We have to kind of like tear down everything that we were handed in terms of what this country is about, and like really, really suss out what it is actually about. And there's nothing like Palestine to show us what America's all about. I've never seen suppression like this before. On this level, with this intensity, Palestine is such a bottom line issue. I don't know why, but it's like the hill that America is insisting on dying on, which, all right, fine. JM, if you're freezing peanut butter, please be careful. If it's a glass container and you're trying really hard to scoop it with a metal spoon, because plastic will break with a frozen peanut butter, you might like crack the glass. So just be careful. Just go slow. Go slow, go measured. I recommend holding the spoon closer to the actual spoon portion so that you have more control over where it slips. Otherwise, if you like skim across the top of the frozen peanut butter, it might shatter straight into the glass. So I don't recommend holding it here. I recommend holding it here. I have experience with eating frozen peanut butter. The apple-free diet is not quite because of pre-diabetes. It's because raw apples seem to give me stomach aches now. I don't know why. 20 minutes after I eat a raw apple, I just get like this bloating pain. Come to London? I have one friend who lives in London. Amazon has a new feature where you can actually buy cars online, and they deliver it to you. Everything is so convenient. When you have these impossibly huge things come through the mail just with the click of a few buttons, how can you expect anyone to be prepared for the work it takes to actually build a partnership together between two live, feeling, thinking human beings with different backgrounds and opinions and beliefs? So, I'm gonna have to find someone who's like at least mildly autistic. Preferably someone who's a lefty. I don't mean politically lefty, because you know, identifying as a lefty doesn't always mean you are. But someone who's left-handed. I've always fantasized about dating someone who's left-handed. Haven't found them yet. So If you know any autistic left-handed people who want to date me, let me know. You're my hinge now. I agree, Faye. Someone who's not into consumerism, someone who doesn't drool with the idea of owning a house or owning cars or, you know, shit in general. Tamara, I'm also refusing to pay some medical claims. I was insured at the time, and for some reason they keep sending me bills for these tests that I had already co-paid for. I co-pay on the spot for every visit. And like 3 months after that visit, or even, I just got a bill from an October visit, so 5 months ago. I don't know where these things are coming. I'm not paying them. I paid. I really do think that we might just have to sink fully into debt and see what happens when people don't pay it back. What happens if you no longer are enslaved by your debt? Because that's how they keep you enslaved now, is through debt. What happens, because we're getting to that stage where people don't have money to pay for things anymore. College students don't have anywhere to go to finish their degrees, but also the entire world is kind of getting shaken up right now, so we have to think about whether or not degrees are going to be a currency in the future. I'm sure they will continue to be for at least maybe a couple of generations, but with this amount of AI kicking in, what can people with degrees do anymore that machines can't in 30 years? Also, we have so much information available to us publicly now online. There is also a lot of fake news on the internet, of course, but they can finish their education. They just won't get their degrees, which is an authoritarian thing anyway. It's a piece of paper. It's a piece of paper that you get handed that say that this school approves the knowledge you've accumulated over 4 years for which you got yourself deeply into debt for, on average. It's a piece of paper that basically proves that you were a good little slave to the system. I just don't know what the world is going to look like in 5 years, in 10 years, in 15 years, in 20 years. Things are moving so fast now. Like, that's why I think we're so exhausted. They keep moving faster and faster. It's accelerating. Yes, memos should be being pet. You're absolutely right. Memo does feel relationship driven. A lot of things have happened to me and jars and frozen things. America is the most hated country in the world because it's a bully. It's been a bully. And now we're getting a taste of our own medicine. You know, everything that we're experiencing right now has been basically weapons tested on other countries. And what happens once they've tested these weapons successfully abroad? It gets brought home. Tamara's son is left-handed and single. Is he autistic? Where do you live? Is he a cat person? I have so many questions. What are his hobbies? Listen, I'm open to dating women. I just don't have any experience with dating women. I also have never had like organic attraction to them. But I also feel like maybe this is another part of my brainwashing, right? Like my parents were very socially conservative growing up. I think if I had come out as queer or a lesbian, my mom would have just like broken on the spot probably. She kind of spazzed out when I like shaved my head. So it's possible. I've been seeing a lot of pretty ladies on my Instagram feed. I think the feed is trying to like turn me lesbian, which if it works, great. There was a dancer with like the most perfect body ever for me. Just like tiny boobs, solid muscles, but not like super toned. Fluid movement, strong, sturdy legs. I was very into it. I was very entranced. I don't know a thing about what Elon Musk has been saying, so I don't have a response to that. But, you know, again, I said earlier this stream that sci-fi has shown us the potential scripts we have to follow now. And one of the scripts is WALL-E. Have you seen WALL-E? Baby. We're gonna turn into fat blobs who can't walk if WALL-E is true. Yes, thank you for the comments and the compliments on my hair today. I was feeling really down about my face being so washed and bloaty. So I was like, all right, let's change up the hair. Let's make ourselves feel better. Baby, hi. Can I touch? Can I pet? May I pet? I'm so happy that he's here. What a miracle boy. What a miracle boy. Wow, your son sounds great. Oh, good stretch, baby. Good stretch. Are you gonna eat? Denver is very white, is what I've been told. Will they have my H mark? The last time I was in a very white place, I feel like I always got mistaken for another Asian. Which is fine. Yes, WALL-E. It's about a little robot. Oh, he's purring. I don't think you can hear him, but he's purring. Baby, brushies? Hi. Remember when we thought you were gonna die? You decided to stay a little bit longer? We love it. We love that you chose to stay a little bit longer. Every day I get to spend with you is a little cake, a little slice of blessing cake. The movie was about the future where Wally is a little robot sent to clean up our trash, and like it's very post-apocalyptical sort of setting where the city is just piles and piles of trash as tall as a skyscraper. So the entire city is just trash city. And humans have escaped into outer space, and they are obese fat blobs that hilariously just bounce around on the spaceship because they have lost use really of their limbs anymore. They're not functional. That might be where we're headed. That might be where we're headed. Oh, you think he wants to fight the other cat? You're not a social little being. Do you think Memo would like a brother or a sister? Sorry, did I shock you? It's static. It's static. I'm gonna go eat my food now. Do you want to eat some food? Okay. I'll be back. All right, let's try our other food, and then I'll probably log off and go hang out with Memo. I'm gonna eat it straight out of the pot. It's kind of hot. So we got tofu, wood ear, carrots, cat hair, mustard greens, and condiments, I think. Ooh, spicy. Yes. Very spicy. Oh, I love the texture of the tofu. Yum. I bet this would be good with like nutritional yeast. Cheers, y'all. Works very well. It gives that tofu a little cheesy edge. Makes it even more umami and savory and like buttery. Fantastic. Thank you for cooking with me for 4 hours today. And thank you for staying for the rants. And I hope you have a great day and a great week. And I hope you survive. And I hope I survive. Okay, that's all I have for today. Goodbye. Take care.